I watched Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2 some time ago, and it led to this video because there is something I found very interesting while watching both movies. Aside from Shifu feeding Tai Lung sweet nothings for over 20 years and Tai Lung going berserk, this video concerns Tai Lung and Tigress and the Dragon Warrior title, who mentors and enlarges Po, our Dragon Warrior, and there was a pivotal choice to be made by Tai Lung and Tigress. One made the best choice, one did not. And I want to look into that in this video. So go on this little journey with me because I gotta explain this. But before all that, please like, subscribe, hit the notification button. I really appreciate it. Alright, we all know that Tai Lung got sold a lie by Shifu for years, that he alone is destined to be the Dragon Warrior. But aside from that, I noticed something very interesting about the whole Shifu, Tai Lung, Tigress and Dragon Warrior issue. And that is, Tai Lung robbed himself of a future he could have shared alongside the Dragon Warrior and the Furious Five, and Shifu. And yes, Shifu and Oogway share the blame for what happened to Tai Lung. I mean, it doesn't really seem as if Oogway cared all that much to bother to help Tai Lung with that issue of darkness he saw in him. Not that Oogway was wrong, it just seems as if a little more could have been done to keep Tai Lung from going down the wrong path. But it's mostly Tai Lung's fault, obviously. I mean, aside from Shifu, he chose to do the things that led him to prison for 20 years. And that's a lot of years with a turtle shell on your back with boulders holding you down. Actually, that's definitely a lot of years to really think about things. What happened? What went wrong? How am I also to blame for what happened? A lot of time to introspect, right? But no, Tai Lung escaped and still wanted to be the Dragon Warrior and enact his revenge. So much for 20 years in prison, and all that taxpayers' money for the sake of his reformation down the drain. Okay, now while watching the second movie, I realized something. Tai Lung didn't need to be the Dragon Warrior. Rather, he could have been Po's master if he didn't go berserk. He probably should have been the one to mentor and train Po. 20 years is a lot of years, as I said before, and in that time, Tai Lung definitely could have been a great Kung Fu master. Maybe the greatest. I mean, Tai Lung was already a prodigy. Shifu wouldn't have kept putting it into his head that he would be the Dragon Warrior if the potential was not there. The guy was crazy at Kung Fu, but he lost the plot and lost a future where I think he could have been a mentor and a close friend of the Dragon Warrior. But no, someone else who wanted to be the Dragon Warrior as well took that spot that should have been his. And the person that took that spot is Master Tigress. Now, if you've watched the first Kung Fu Panda, it's clear that Tigress also wanted to be the Dragon Warrior. Out of all the Furious Five, clearly it could have been her. But Po falls down from the sky and it's decided that he is the legendary Dragon Warrior. And I think it's safe to say she clearly hated Po at first and was bitter that after her own years of hardship and training, wasn't chosen to be the Dragon Warrior. But Tigress at the end of the first movie acknowledges Po as the Dragon Warrior and a master.
Master.
And I think, like Tai Lung, she also had just as much reason to go berserk and trash the Jade Palace. But instead of that, we see her humble herself and acknowledge Po. And when the second movie comes along, there's clearly some development that took place between Po and Tigress. They're closer, and Tigress is like a mentor and close guardian of the Dragon Warrior. From kinda hating him to protecting him and caring about his life, the trauma from his tragic past, and she's actively trying to be there for Po in her own way, and shows a little softness towards Po here and there. Tigress realized something Tai Lung didn't. It's okay not to be the legendary Dragon Warrior. And Tigress, judging from the end of Kung Fu Panda 1 and the events that unfold in the second movie, how she acts towards Po, we are shown a bright future exists beyond being the Dragon Warrior. And I think the rest of the Furious Five realized the same thing and moved on with their lives. And if Tai Lung had realized this earlier, that he could still have a bright future that doesn't include being the Dragon Warrior, I think he wouldn't have done what he did that caused him to spend 20 years in prison. Maybe he would have disappeared for a while. If Tai Lung had kept his place, he wouldn't have been reserved in chains under darkness, waiting for his day of judgment. And that day of judgment came about when he escaped prison to enact his revenge, leading him to be whooshy-fingered by Po. But I think he possibly could have been the one to train Po and mold him to become a better Kung Fu master and dragon warrior. I mean, think about it. How different would the story of Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2 be had Tai Lung mentored Po? Sure, in the first movie he probably wouldn't have been the antagonist, but I think it's interesting. Instead of spending 20 years in jail, maybe Tai Lung would be a master in the Jade Palace, or a rogue hero, or build his own school. And by the second movie, maybe befriends Po and also learns inner peace like Po and forgives Shifu. And Tigress's path would have probably remained the same or had been slightly different or something like that. But no, Tigress took the pivotal role of mentorship and guardianship over the Dragon Warrior, a role that could have been Tai Lung's if he just didn't go berserk and seek revenge. If this scenario had happened, Master Shifu wouldn't have been as broken and disgruntled as he was throughout the first movie, because Tai Lung, his son, wouldn't have been in jail for over 20 years. So, Po was Shifu's chance at getting some inner peace into his heart. Honestly, I think it would have been great to see Tai Lung get some inner peace in the second movie, since that's the theme of the second movie. I have no idea how it would have worked out as far as the story of the movie is concerned, but having Tai Lung get some redemption and inner peace and even forgive Shifu would have been more interesting to see, in my opinion. I think Tai Lung should have been redeemed. It definitely would have been nice to see. Well, I don't know what happens in the fourth movie because I haven't seen it, so maybe that does happen, but I doubt it. Point is, Tigress found an important revelation, an epiphany, and that is, don't go berserk, find and build your own future. Log 9 complete.